So do me a favor, welcome the panelists as they come to the stage. Paolo Sorti, Andreas Gauger, Gaurang Sheena, and let's bring them on up. Come on, welcome them. Gentlemen. You got music like you're like wrestlers. This is awesome. Thanks. Welcome.
Thank you.
Ed, you know what? You sit in order.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Look,
Order?
So.
No.
All right.
Huh? Cool.
All right, come over
Yeah.
here. All right, come here.
Come here in the middle.
Playing again?
There we go. We figured it out.
Nobody will mess up our names, right? Right? Guys, welcome. It's lovely to see you all here. Andres especially, I've known you for years. It's great to have you here on stage. So let's, first of all, we're going to do, this is a celebration of sorts, right? Because technically, this is the 50th anniversary of email, right? It actually started like 50 years ago with the first email. And so to celebrate that, we actually have a birthday cake. I don't know if you saw it on the way in there. We made a birthday cake for email. It's over in the corner, and if you're really, really good, I think Elizabeth is going to walk around and hand out a few slices and as we go along through this presentation. So if you see her serving people, Elizabeth, save a slice or two for us. Would you we really appreciate that. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with our questions, right? So email has come a long way, right? A long way. So in all of our opinions, just start over there and work our way this way. What are the biggest changes that we've seen in email over the last decade or so, and why is it important?
Well, let's say many and none. The email itself is not changing a lot. As a system, the way it's used, email is changing a lot. So email was just a system to communicate among people and was just designed as a system to be standalone. Today, we are seeing email as a part of a communication ecosystem. So it's not the only methodology, it's a base for many different methodologies. Pretty much everything we are using today is, at the end of the day, based on email. So importance is what is changing in email, in my opinion.
Cool. Andreas?
So I would agree that there is lots more use cases than just interpersonal communications, like lots of automated emails and even automated processes based on email and all that. But also I think the biggest change we have seen is the entering of chat communication in the business world, right? It was always there in the private world, but then now we have chats for business. And some of these companies claimed that email would die. That didn't work out so well, but...
I was hearing that too. Never believed it. I never believed it.
Old story.
No, one big advantage of email is it's absolutely interoperable, right? And all these chat servers are much more kind of closed up. But there is kind of like, the use case of email is changing a little bit. So for the direct instant communication, you're not using email so much anymore. It's rather a chat service or any kind of messaging. But for like profound kind of business communication, like larger, like the letter, that's still an email use case.
Yeah.
Well, folks, first of all, thanks for having me here. And I think I agree with a lot of what Paolo said as well, which is the ways that we use email are changing quite a bit. But I think the other very interesting thing, and this is a bit more specific to business email, is that a lot more like non-technical customers are kind of starting to use email in ways that we didn't think about it, right? So email was something that your admin set up for you and so on and so forth. Business email was something like, okay, I'm just going to use my Gmail. Business email is kind of out of the reach. And I think now what we're seeing, particularly in the recent users, is just much more the greater accessibility of it. Like everybody can just set up their own email at their own domain. And so a lot of non-technical users coming in and starting to use email. I think that's driving a lot of the use cases now that we're seeing with email than we did before.
Perfect. Let's kind of flip it around. And, you mentioned, Andres, that chat communications. I'm going to come back to that with a question in the future here, because that's I think one of the biggest changes in communication. We'll come back to that. But let's start on this side now and work our way that way. What apps or new services or configurations or new applications are coming in email right now? The one you're most excited about?
Well, I think in terms of it's kind of talking about that same point, which is that email was kind of this general purpose application. You had a from, you had a to, you had a CC, you had a subject line. That was it. That was what we thought about as email. And I think now what we are seeing is that this evolution into a purpose-driven application, which is that everybody's using email for something. And the folks that are innovating in that space and making email sort of solve specific problems, I think are the ones the most successful. I can give you guys a couple of examples. I really love this product by this company called Front. They have basically evolved email and developed it into a platform that is specific to sales and customer success, and they've done an amazing job of it. I think we are trying to do some of the same stuff, solving for specific use cases and problems that small businesses and solopreneurs and things like that have. And I think I'm really excited about those kinds of changes. Not massive sweeping changes, but problems that are getting solved within products that we are selling today.
I hope, the most massive change in email will be better clients in the future.
Better clients?
Yeah.
I could take that two ways.
Yeah. I'm just 2 years with OpenExchange, so give me a little. But I think there's nearly anything that happens in business is transferred via email. Nearly anything. A little bit in chat, but like real substantial stuff is typically email. And the possibilities to kind of like access this data, this like 50 gigabytes of emails of the last 10 years, it's not very good. I'm catching myself searching for stuff every day and not finding it right away.
Me too.
Yeah, and I think that we should change.
Cool.
Yeah, well, I would say from my side that what I'm thinking today is relevant for email is moving from, let's say, a personal email, like an address for a person, because we are all using a lot of different addresses in our day job. We do have personal ones, we do have work ones, and we also have, office ones. For example, we do have function addresses. For that reason, I think sharing between those different accounts and having the chance to involve different people using the same kind of account, the same kind of data inside those accounts, it's a plus because we can avoid to have all those forward and copy, because otherwise mail is mass, and if you're using mail in the wrong way and you're having a very heavy usage of email, that's one of the points where searching would be a problem. So once again, finding a different way to share objects, to share, content within your group without using CCM forward.
Okay, so let's come back to the chat question, okay? Because this is something that's kind of drives me crazy. If you really think about it, half of the supposed productivity apps that we use are really just, if everybody will forgive me, a form of glorified chat. I'll give you an example of that. I use WhatsApp. I use Signal. I use Instant Messenger. I use Trello. I use all of these things. But my colleagues around, once you see people how they actually use these things, they use them as chat. Another one, Mattermost. I could go on and on and on, and they all have collaborative features to them, but they're all basically a chat. Now, you guys are in the email business. I've been out of email for a while now, right? So chat is surging in all these platforms. Are we seeing email go up? Are we seeing email volume go down, stay the same? How is chat impacting email? Andres, let's start with you.
Okay. So as far as I know, the email is still going up. I'm not 100% sure if that's because of the automated emails or the interpersonal emails. I would guess interpersonal emails kind of plateau right now, but I don't really know. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. That's right.
But I think the biggest difference between email and chat is that chats are mostly all of them proprietary little worlds. And you just made the example that you use like 5 or 10 different chat apps right now.
I do.
If you count them, it's really a lot. If you include the private ones, like Instagram and all that, it's crazy. And I'm always looking, I saw a message from someone, but I don't find it anymore. Which chat was it, or was it an email, right? So the biggest disadvantage of all these new chat services is a proprietary
Yeah.
thingy. And there we need a solution, and there's nothing at the horizon at the moment to get everything under control. And And some of these services are kind of open, so that you can access the data within, and some are completely closed up, right?
Yeah.
So, but everyone hates all these different services. And I think what would be great is clients that actually, like for email, where you can have multiple email accounts in one client, also clients for chat, or even for chat and email together, where you have everything in one place. That would be great.
Let me up-thumb that. You made a great point, because in social media, because I even have two friends in particular who the only way we communicate is through direct messages on Twitter.
Or LinkedIn, you know. I go once a week or once a month in LinkedIn and see all these messages I got, and I'm like, okay, let's answer all of them in 3 hours.
Paolo, do you want to follow up on that?
Yeah, well, I'm not seeing email against chat. So that's, I think we are on common ground on that. It's a different purpose. So email is for something more formal, something that needs to remain as communication. While chat is more frugal, it's very useful working on a group. It's very useful because of the situation we had in the last 2 years. Remote teams working together. So the main point, I agree, the main point is to trying to have those different ways of communication working together, living together in the same client. I will add one more point about that. One, feature that is relevant to me is not really a feature, but is having something that is giving you the chance to have control about your data sovereignty and sovereignty, and giving you a chance to control your own data, because all the chat you are mentioning, those are not only proprietary as a protocol, but they're also taking your data and not giving to you a chance to control and acting on your data. Interesting.
You know, folks, your question puts me in an interesting situation, because we happen to also make a chat product called Flock at Titan. And of course, that gives us the benefit of observing the use cases of both those. And I think that kind of speaks to what Paolo said as well, which is that chat customers actually are quite different, and they use it for different purposes. We use it internally within our companies. And I think the point about proprietary systems is kind of well made. It makes logical sense. But I think it's because it's not just as a byproduct, but it's actually the reason is product innovation, right? Which is folks are genuinely moving forward in terms of product innovation. That's why companies like Slack have become so successful in that space. So they solve a genuine need. I think, as far as the volume of email goes, I think that's actually, in our observation, still going up in terms of the number of things that email can do. Like a traditional email product, if you write down and document the number of use cases that we use it for, you'd end up probably north of 20, 30, 40 common use cases that we end up sort of solving for. So I think, just to also talk to a previous point, I'll say amen to what Andreas said, better clients, which is that I think as much as we can solve for that and improve the email side of things, I think email will start becoming a pleasure to use, and people will no longer sort of see it as kind of the enemy. And look, chat has its own journey, and I think it's got its own purpose, and it'll continue down its own path.
You know, if it will, nobody comes here to hear what the moderator's thoughts are on these things, but I'm going to go ahead and give some anyway. There's something else that's kind of interesting, because whenever we invent a new technology, we learn something about human behavior at the same time, right? We throw technology out there, and then we kind of see how everybody uses it, and sometimes it's not as we expect. And one of the things that was very interesting to me, when email started becoming mainstream for personal as well as for business use, and say around late 1990s, early 2000s, was that it created an intentional time distortion effect. If you called me, it meant something right now, but if you emailed me, it meant something that I could do later. And then chat is now in between that somewhere. If you call, and my whole family knows this, if you're actually calling me on the phone, it had better be something that needs to be handled like right now for some really important reason. Otherwise, if it's something I can handle sometime within the next hour, text me. If it's something I can do today, email me. It's almost a time distortion effect as well, right? Okay. Yeah, we'll see.
Different for different people, but it's generally in that direction. Sure.
Cool. All right. So now we're going to start talking about something. I'm going to lead in with a story first. we're going to start talking about some of the big email platforms. And I'm sure we all have opinions about that in one way or another. But before we do, let's put it in context. Gentlemen, take a moment and tell us each about your companies, because you all going to have an opinion. Let's put those opinions in context. Andreas, you go first.
Okay. So I'm the CEO of Open Exchange, and Open Exchange is providing email infrastructure for hosting companies and telcos, mainly. A little bit public sector in Germany as well. And we have lots of really large customers, so we are specialized in large infrastructure, very efficient infrastructure, and yeah.
There you go. Paolo?
I'm CEO at Zextras. We are building email and collaboration platforms since 2010. The main point for us is to create a digital workplace. So we are handling not only emails, we are handling chat, file management, document editings, all the stuff, including, protocols for integration with external clients and systems. So that's it.
And Titan?
Yeah, well, guys, we're kind of the new guys in the room, as it were. We are only a couple of years old, but basically we operate in the similar space. We have an amazing clients. We have some amazing clients, as well as a world-class email service that's built specifically for domains and hosting companies as well. And then we are solving for basically three main things. One is kind of the end consumer experience, which we think has to be or as good as, if not better than, Gmail and Outlook. It's got to be a world-class email service. It's got to be so good that nobody even thinks about things like uptime and so on and so forth. And number three, it's got to solve for revenue, right? So it's got to make us all money, right? So that's kind of the broad 30-second background.
Okay, cool. So, all right, now, a little context for this next series of questions, because we're going to talk about the big guys, right? We're going to talk about the heavy hitters. Who here, anybody, remembers HostingCon way back in the day? Anybody? A few people? Okay. You may have attended a session of mine, and this goes back maybe 12 years? Could be 13 years. I've been around. Look at the gray. All right, so I did a session, a full-hour session called Email Keys to the Kingdom. And I did a whole presentation about why hosting companies, I know seeing the trend of hosting companies drifting towards, because email servers are just a pain in the butt. Nobody wants to manage it. And I thought, okay, that's a problem. You are giving access to your customers away. And I gave this presentation. So I know how I feel about it. And it kind of came to fruition. Nobody seemed to listen to that presentation. But here we are now. So let's talk about Google and Microsoft, because those are the two main ones, right? Just go ad hoc. Paulo, you go first. Just talk about your opinion on this.
Yeah, that's a tough one, guys.
Yeah.
Well, let's say they're doing great, giving a chance to people to use a collaboration tool that is not only about email. So they were the first one doing this kind of mix and match between different technologies, giving different medias for people starting working together. So that's the good part. They were the first mover. They, create a trend, I would say. The dark side is that they're keeping your data, they're using proprietary technologies, and they're not giving you a chance to easily migrate from their platform to others. So they're keeping you, let's say, hostage when you're using those platforms. So I think, and I'm pretty sure I'm speaking also for my friends here, we are, at least as Zextras, convinced that we need to have alternatives that are giving the same kind of experience, the same kind of chances in communication for people, but giving different approaches to data management, data sovereignty once again, and protocols being open source, using open protocols. So different approach for the same kind of experience. I think that's our job.
Andreas?
I agree. And I would add the perspective of hosting companies to it. And certainly, I don't think you cannot sell Google and Microsoft today, because some people will just want to have it, because they're pretty dominant and pretty good solutions, right? But it's super dangerous. The email collaboration productivity suite is the one product that everyone who is working is using daily, like 3-4 hours. So it's the main user experience you can get. hold on with your customer, right? And once a hosting company sells Google or Microsoft, they basically also give the customer to Google or Microsoft, because they will see that they are using Google or Microsoft. They are not really caring who sells it to them. And the hoster will never be able to decide, hey, we had a contract with Google, now we have a contract with Microsoft, we move you from Google to Microsoft. That will not work out, right? And so the whole relationship is gone, and also the base of everything. All the data is in there. So to access it, they are the gatekeepers. And this is going already really bad for hosting companies in a way that the APIs of Google and Microsoft are now more predominant in any additional tools than the actual open internet standards. So, and Google and Microsoft are even working on closing down the open internet standards like IMAP for any kind of security reasons.
We have a question about IMAP coming up. Yeah, but go ahead.
Sorry.
No worries.
So I think it's very dangerous. They have already achieved quite a duopoly there, and if we let them proceed, they will suck the life out of hosting companies in the long run.
So what's your opinion on this now?
I would say you should have a valid alternative.
I guess. I agree.
And promote that one to keep the customers.
Right.
So, folks, I mean, I agree with some of the thinking that I think Paolo and Andreas talked about, right? But I keep coming back to this, and we see this over and over again, which is Google and Microsoft are succeeding because they make amazing products. You know, I mean, everybody can find their flaws with them, but they're good quality products. They're reliable. They solve for end customers, right? And so no matter what we like, there's all these considerations that Andreas talked about. But at the end of the day, if we don't make amazing products that match up to that level, then I think we would be, you know, I mean, calling out and saying that, oh, you know, these are the other things. They're going to do what's kind of right for their shareholders. Mm-hmm. And I think our responsibility in this room to create alternatives that match up to those standards. So that's kind of one. But the other idea I also want to talk about is that those companies started out, and a lot of them still send, like Andreas said, a lot of customers want those solutions as well. But more and more and more, Google and Microsoft are solving the problems of big enterprises, right? And a lot of our customers are still kind of small businesses and solopreneurs and things like that. And so as far as I can see in the product innovation side of things, we really haven't seen that much focus on that persona. I think that's kind of an opportunity almost for us to innovate in that space and build really a great product for those guys. So I think my views are that it's kind of our responsibility and our place to do better.
Fair enough. I'm just going to add one more thing to what these fine gentlemen have said, and that is email is one of the most sticky applications that we have in technology. So even I've seen it time and time again. If a hosting company is providing multiple services, they're hosting a database for them, they're hosting their website, they're providing email and collaboration services, the customer retention rate is always higher. We can sit here and debate by whose study shows which is how much more. The point is that it's stickier the more services you provide, specifically when it comes to email. And I've seen migrations where even somebody's going from Azure and they're going to a different cloud, even to a private cloud, like even going to Linode or somebody like that. But they keep the email at 365. That doesn't go anywhere because nobody's going to mess with that. One more little thing, if you've in a hosting environment, worked in a hosting company for 3 years, if a website goes down, it could be half a day before the company notices. If the email goes down, you get a call in a minute. It's just because it's that intimate, it's that personal, right? Okay, yeah, right. All right, so let's extend that. You know, you've all kind of touched on that. The question that we have is there a hidden agenda? And let's tie it into the fact that Microsoft and Google are trying to step away from the conventional standards, right? So let's tie those two questions together. Is there a hidden agenda, and is that associated with it? And Andreas, I know you're chomping at the bit. You want this question, so I'll let you go first.
Hidden agenda is maybe, you said it right, they are doing their business, right? And part of that business is trying to get everyone in their field and not let them out anymore, right? And from that stems something that is kind of hidden if you see it from a hoster perspective. They don't go to the hosting company and say, hey, be our partner. By the way, once we are dominating the world, we are not very interested in you anymore longer, right? So that's the hidden part of it in that perspective. But they're closing these systems up, and they're controlling the access to it. And we have seen, at least with Microsoft in the past, what that means once they have achieved dominance, right? Then they kind of like, no margin anymore. Oh, this product we like, we just integrated, you are out of business. so it's dangerous. Why is Microsoft not integrating cool standard hosting products in their Office or Microsoft 365 suite? I don't know why, but once they do it, the hosting companies that have Microsoft-based customers will not be happy anymore. So there is the danger, right? And now this trend to even discard open internet standards, that's not going the right direction. The internet was great because it was open and permissionless access. Anyone could offer services, right? And now they are kind of like starting to re-own it again, right? Microsoft had MSN, there was CompuServe, and what else? AOL. There was proprietary systems. Each had their own email system just within that service. And then the internet came and brushed everything away, and now slowly they're creeping back and owning it again. Yeah. In the business part, at least, right? In the private part as well, right? And that's meta. But it's dangerous because the access to the market will be restricted, and there will be a king and then a little industry around them, an entourage industry. And I don't want to see that kind of internet happening.
To rephrase what you said, we went from walled gardens to open fields, but we're going back to walled gardens again.
Yeah, it's going that direction, slowly but surely.
Hello?
Well, absolutely interesting. I agree. The main point to me is when you're mentioning hidden agenda. To me, there's no hidden agenda. It's a public agenda. So, I mean, the question is not correct. Do they have an agenda? Yes, they do. Is that something we all know? Yes, we do. Do we care about that? That's the main point. We all know about that. But we are still using those services because are well-made, are cool, are useful, sometimes are free. And when something is free, there's always a catch.
Yeah, no, I think, folks, there's two kind of sides to this, right? We talked about kind of this open standards side of things, which I think Andreas alluded to. I think that battle has to be fought by us collectively, right? We make sure that the internet kind of remains as open and we use regulatory mechanisms. We advocate for the open internet, and that'll continue to happen. But I think the point that Andreas made is absolutely valid, which is that they aren't just kind of competition; they really are competition. Like one example I can give you guys is Google domains just went out of beta. So it's available publicly in 26 countries now. Google will sell you a domain. So any registrar that's kind of in this room now, Google's direct competition. So yes, they will optimize for their shareholders. It's just, but at the same time, of course, we've kind of got to fight those twin battles. One's the competition battle, the other one's the regulatory battle, and hopefully we'll come out on top again.
All right, well, the conversation just now was great, and we just jumped through a lot of my future questions, which is great, because it was all there, so we haven't missed anything, which is great. But let's take it a step further, and let's talk about business email, right? Is it destined to be free? I know I have an opinion on this, but we want to hear what you guys say. Free email is there. Is that the limit? Are we just driving to zero and this is a service? Let's start here.
We've had a little time to think about this, guys, and I think let me split that question out into two parts. There's the email service side of things, and then there's the email clients that we talked about. I think, in my opinion, good quality email service will almost become a prerequisite. It's not even, you don't really think twice about it. And to me, the cost of that's going to keep going down and potentially hit zero in my mind. Whether it's compute costs or storage costs and things like that, that will drive the cost down of ultimately being able to deliver good email. Yes, there will certainly be room for premium services, but I think the basic expectation of quality email on the service side of things will go down. But at the same time, I think that good quality email experiences on the client side, perhaps, I think there is room there for innovation and for there to be a significant price that we all can charge for that experience. And so to me, that's why it's been the battle of ecosystems, the battle of products. You've seen folks pay through their nose for Slack when they could very well just pay for have a free chat product. And I think that's kind of going to be one direction. That's a theory. We'll see where it goes. But I feel like the service side of things is where we'll get to a good level at low cost. And on the client side of things, perhaps we'll have the ability to charge even more than we do today.
Andreas?
So I think you have to differentiate running such an infrastructure and how it's sold. Because even right now, you can run effective email infrastructure for very low cost, but it's sold with a big markup. Like even like $2, $3 a month is already, you make some margin on that, right? Mm. And so I don't think that will change, because that is basically a function of what people are willing to pay for such a service, and that didn't change much in the past. Even Google is now stopping offering free email to businesses. So I think that on a level, anything between $2 and $10 a month will stay like that. Business email, right?
Yeah, and I tend to agree. There's low economic friction when you're talking single-digit dollars or single-digit euros. There's low friction. Paulo?
I would say email is like coffee. If you're going for a meal, you will have a free coffee. If you're going to Starbucks, they're not giving you free coffee. No? But if they're going to give you free coffee, are you actually looking for free coffee at Starbucks, or do you want some fancy coffee they're offering to you? So speaking about email, email for free is free only if the ones that are giving you free email is giving you something else, or if you are giving them something else. Otherwise, they will need to pay for the infrastructure at least, because even though it's going cheaper to handle email, there's a side effect. You are using a huge amount of gigabytes. I mean, 10 years ago, we were using, I would say, 1 gigabyte at the most. Today, I'm seeing people using 75 gigabytes in email. That's for a price. Storage is costing $1. So if someone is not giving me or our hosting providers storage for free, no one is actually able to give you email for free. So the only chance is buying something else for having email for free, or giving something else to the one that are giving you email for free, like coffee.
Okay, guys, look, I've just determined we're all email nerds. So here's the deal, though. We've got only a couple of minutes left, but I want you all to kind of put on your Swami fortune teller hats, deal the cards on the table, and make one 30-second prediction for the future of email over the next 5 to 10 years. You go first.
All right. Folks, I think we'll see a lot of purpose-driven email emerging. We'll see email coming out for small businesses, for sales teams, for customer success teams. And this is maybe email plus, as it were, which is that it does everything that standard email should be expected to do, but solves for specific use cases for specific personas.
Andreas?
So I build up on that. I agree with that. And I think that we will see also more integration into other pieces, like chat, for example, or anything like that stores data and kind of accesses it. So I think more integrated clients is the future.
Yeah, I agree. So first of all, email is very old, but it is like Highlander, so will never die. Sure. Will change a lot.
No, because Highlander there can be only one, and we got 3 on stage.
But technically speaking, email is just one as a protocol. So yeah, we are all using the same. So will change a lot, as changed in the last 50 years. We will see a lot of new integration, and I hope nobody, like the big guys, will try to kill Highlander.
With that, guys, we are 3, 2, 1. Please thank the panel for their time. Guys, I appreciate you being here. They'll be around. Stop them, ask questions. And thank you so much, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers.